Two Lightning players wind up on Team USA's Olympic camp, goaltending talk for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and $1 million question: who would win a 7-game series between the 2004 Lightning and the 2020-2021 Lightning? All on today's show.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're going to start out by shouting out the everydayers. All of you who tune into the show every single day, give us love, give us support. We love you guys, and we appreciate everything you do for us week in and week out. I'm Nick Morgan, and I am joined by the Joe Juravicious to my Mike Allstott, Greg Steven. Greg, welcome in, man.
Good morning. Good morning. Excited to chat about some goaltending today. Definitely a hot button topic for the Lightning.
Yeah, a lot of goaltending talk today. Also, a fun debate that was popping up on some of the Reddit threads and stuff from earlier this year. Who would win a 7-game series between the 2004 Cup-winning Tampa Bay Lightning and the 2020/2021 back-to-back dynasty version of the Lightning? We'll be talking about that coming up in just a second. But first, want to mention today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season right around the corner, folks. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bet now. A lot of cool stuff coming up, Greg. First, though, some actual Lightning news. We have 2 players invited to the Team USA Olympic camp. The initial 44-man roster just came out yesterday. We have Jake Guentzel, who we just talked about on yesterday's show, and an Olympic veteran, Ryan McDonough. What are your thoughts on these two being on the Team USA initial camp roster?
Yeah, not surprised at all. I mean, I don't think anyone really will be, right? Guentzel's he proved that he's a unit with or without Crosby. And McDonough has obviously been a defensive stud for many, many years and continues to be. So don't see why they wouldn't want to add 2 strong players to their roster.
Yeah, it's interesting, some of the names that were left off. I know a lot of people are wondering where Alex DeBrincat was in that. But to me, I look at this roster and Jake Guentzel, probably going to be a lock for the Olympic roster. McDonough was the interesting one to me because you look at this roster, there's not a lot of people with Olympic experience that you look at, and it's they're obviously going to be on there. Remember, the Olympics weren't around when Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel kind of came into the fold. The Tkachuk brothers came into the fold. So, 4 Nations arguably was sort of the biggest tournament everyone's been in, if you don't count the World Championships, which always kind of have the also-ran rosters. So it's interesting with the season McDonough had last year and proving, he still has some value there, especially in the defensive end. I'm almost wondering if there is sort of a spot for him on this roster to kind of be that veteran guy, even if he's not, sort of an everyday player, if he's the 7th, 8th D-man, the guy that can kind of step in and be sort of the calming influence for this young USA team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't even be top 6, honestly. I think he's still such a strong defensive player. And like you said, not a lot of Olympic experience here. So, bringing a veteran guy to the team and kind of just stabilizing the mentality ahead of time is, I think, a great addition to any team in any sport.
Yeah, I'd love to see him invited. It sounds like we might have a Canada announcement soon. There's probably going to be a Braden Point edition in there. I would assume maybe just based on how he was used in 4 Nations, there's going to be a Brandon Hagel inclusion in there. Outside chance for somebody like Anthony Cirelli in there as well. So I think there is 5 for sure names for the Lightning for the Olympics right now. Bjorkstrand, Hedman, Gergensons. I'm leaving somebody off.
Chernak, probably.
I think Chernak, yeah. Maybe 4. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at notes, but I would assume we could have 7, 8 Olympians by the time this is over.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Is Russia participating in the Olympics this season?
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it. Okay, well then we won't see Kuch there. But I mean, look, if they did, you lose Vasi and Kuch to them too, right? Like they go skate. So
yeah,
it's a lot of Olympic players, caliber wise.
Yeah, if it is, it's a shame that we're not going to get to see another Kucherov appearance for the Olympics. But
yep,
it's what the world is right now.
It is.
Hey, speaking of Andrei Vasilevskiy, let's dive into sort of our main topic for the day, and that is the goaltending for 2026. This is part of our player preview series. Today, we are focusing on Andrei Vasilevskiy. Now, Greg, if you recall, 2024 Andrei Vasilevskiy, oh boy, there was a little bit of a concern there. Had worst statistical season of his career. Sort of the big talk going into the offseason was, has all those games he played from 2020 all the way up to 2022, 23, did it finally catch up with him? As he finally kind of started to hit that downside slope of his career? 2025 Andrei Vasilevskiy said, nah, bro, that's stupid. Statistically, one of the best seasons of his career. 38-20-5 record, 921 save percentage, 218 goals against average, 6 shutouts, and a Vezina nomination to boot. Greg, are we confident in saying Andrei Vasilevskiy is so back, baby?
I want to touch on a couple things here. And I think the first thing I want to establish is that I don't think he ever left, right? He had an injury and he had an operation for that injury. We don't know how long that was, causing him trouble, right? And that can very well be a big part of 2024, right? And lead these statistics to an explanation of injury. That being said, the stats you listed, let's add another layer to them, right? That 921 save percentage that you mentioned, third highest in his career. The goals against average you listed, 2.18 this past season, the lowest in his entire career. He played the second most games in a single season in his career last year with 63, which is great, right? Like, if you're talking about going on a downslope, a guy doesn't play the most amount of games in a downward trending year. So I think he's back, if you will. I don't think he necessarily left. I think he was injured. I think he needed a little operation to cure him. And look, he bounced back strong. I think we did see a few moments throughout this season where he definitely didn't look like a Hall of Famer, but that doesn't make him not a Hall of Famer. I just think, yes, he might be slowing down. He's not in his exact prime years anymore, but I'm not concerned. I think he's going to be a rock for the next 5 years still.
Yeah. Another stat I'll throw out there to you, quality starts, which is kind of a new goalie stat that's been floating out there. It's basically is your save percentage in a game equal to or greater than sort of the hockey average save percentage for the year? And that's the most quality starts of his career. He had 41. 41 of his 63 starts last year were considered quote unquote quality starts. His previous high was 39, and that was 2022 when he also had 63 starts in a year. So it's interesting that it doesn't seem like it's just magic, in some of these stats. Like he's actually putting up kind of numbers similar to, or as we just talked about, in some cases better than he was during, that sort of Lightning Cup round, late 2010s, which I think we all agree was kind of peak Vasilevskiy. It's big confidence, I think, heading into this year because a lot is going to ride on Vasilevskiy.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Especially with a defense that is, maybe in question right now.
Even though the defense did a lot better last year, I do think that helped in some ways, but I also think that just Vasilevskiy had a bounce back year. Yeah. We're going to dive into what we expect from Vasilevskiy this year. Can he keep it going? Plus, the backup goaltender situation. Jonas Johansson, stats-wise, even though I just found out Greg loves him, stats-wise, not necessarily where you would want a backup goaltender to be. So that raises the million-dollar question. Do the Lightning need to maybe go under the hood there, perhaps make a change? We'll talk about that in just a second. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the very last minute to go to a game with your friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize, that looks awesome. I would love to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in handy. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or hey, even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. If you're tired of the endless scrolling to find the best deal, Game Time's zone deals pick the best seats in your section for you. And the coolest thing about Game Time that I love is you have the seat views in the app. Before you buy, you can see your exact seat in your exact view of the stadium. It's not like a general view or drawing or anything like that. You get to see exactly where you'll be sitting in your exact view, so you'll know what you're getting into before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're back on Locked On Lightning. Greg, Steven, Nick Morgan here with you. We are talking about the goaltending dynamic for 2026, doing a little Andrei Vasilevskiy player preview. And Greg, we talked about it last year. I think in a lot of ways we could consider a bounce back year from Andrei Vasilevskiy after one of the worst years of his career. Big numbers last year, well-deserved Vezina nod. So I got to ask, do we expect him to continue that positive trend going into this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why we would expect him to regress tremendously in any area of the game. I think he's going to be excellent. I think he'll play 60 games again. I don't see why he wouldn't. Yeah, I think he'll put up similar numbers, very likely. And assuming the Bolts bolster the defense side a little bit, maybe those numbers will even be a little more impressive. Who knows?
Yeah, you would like to maybe see the shots he faces go down
right
a little bit, and maybe that enhances some of his numbers a little bit. Kind of, a few years ago, what they were was the Lightning defense and the possession were so good. Andrei Vasilevskiy's numbers were stout, even though he didn't, on average, face a ton of work compared to the rest of the goalies in the league. I think if the Lightning can figure that out, it's really going to unlock. If they get into this situation, though, I will say this. If the Lightning start being that team that gives up, 30, 35, 40 shots on goal per game on sort of a consistent level, which at times they did over the 2 years ago, that may spell trouble, because I do think that the best way to manage Vasilevskiy going forward is just to make sure that he doesn't get overwhelmed with shots every game. And when I say moving forward, I'm not saying hey, if the Lightning give up 35 shots a game this year, Vasilevskiy's washed. I'm not saying that by any means. I'm just saying when you want to think of him long-term, what's going to be best for the Lightning to get the most mileage out of him down the year, down the road, it's just going to be making sure he's not having those UC Saros type games where he's just stopping 40 of 41 shots every night. And then you get to a point 5 years later and the guy's just completely broken down.
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think I'm actually shocked the Lightning didn't bolster the defense in the past trade deadline. I love Gord and I love Bjorkstrand. I actually think Bjorkstrand ended up being way better addition than I thought. But I am shocked they didn't go for defense in that time. Hopefully that is now the priority for this team. I think it is the biggest need, and I think that does tie in very much with Vasilevskiy's longevity, is that You need a strong defense that's going to stop the amount of shots that are getting through. And like you said, result in him working less over the next few years.
Yeah, Ryan McDonough helped with that big time last year, taking over a lot of blocked shots, also getting his stick in the way, breaking up a lot of opportunities as well. Greg, let's talk about the backup goalie situation again, because there's only so much you can say about Vasilevskiy. It's like, yeah, he's Andrei Vasilevskiy. I expect him to keep being good.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's a lot of talk last year about the quality of play they were getting out of Jonas Johansson as the backup goalie. Decent win-loss he played. He started 18 games, went 9-6-3. Save percentage, not necessarily great, 895, although that is kind of now becoming around league average, which is weird. Negative goals saved above expected, very low high danger opportunity or high danger save percentage. Only 7 quality starts last year. I'll just say it. Like, is there? Do we feel good riding with Jonas Johansson as the backup in 2026, or is this something that maybe there's a plan B somewhere?
We'll start by saying that JJ is by no means a starting goalie, right? Like, let's just put that out there. He likely never will be. Is he a good backup? I would argue absolutely. Let's see. He is signed right now for 2 years at $1.25 million a year. That's pretty much nothing, right? When you have a backup goalie who plays, less than 25% of the games in the season, you want him to win 50% of those. What did JJ do this past season? He won 9 of his 18 starts. Okay, so I'll take that. Something that a lot of people don't understand about sports in general, and specifically backup goaltending. When you don't see game time often, like you spend a month sitting and watching Vasilevskiy, and then all of a sudden you go in on a back-to-back and you have to win away. That is not an easy task for anyone.
Fair.
It's just not. You can be Vasilevskiy, but if you haven't played in 25 games at all, and you haven't seen real game speed, you haven't been under the pressure, you haven't been on the back-to-back, you haven't been on the road, it's simply a challenging task, right? And let's not sit here and pretend like the Lightning played awesome defense in front of JJ. On half of the starts that JJ played in this past season, he was hung out to dry. And let me throw one more thing at you. He shut out the Panthers in the regular season this past season. So,
true.
JJ, in my opinion, did his job. He won 50% of the games for $1 million, and that's all the Lightning need. Because, look, he's not playing in the playoffs. This guy's not going in the playoffs. It's not happening, right? Yeah. Vasilevskiy is the guy in the playoffs. And if people are going to say, oh, well, what if he gets hurt? Okay, what if anyone gets hurt, right? What if Kucherov? It doesn't matter. Vasi is your guy. All you need is JoJo to clean up a few wins here and there so that you can make the playoffs, and that's his job. That's it, And I think he did his job. I don't really see – you're not looking – it's not Marty Brodeur back there. I don't think he's – no. It's not Ed Belfour in net. But, look, I mean, he did what he had to do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he has to be. Like, he's the backup goalie. And this is one of those things where it's like you just kind of want somebody who's not going to screw everything up. Yeah. That's what a backup goalie is. I realize that. I'm just saying, for the Lightning to re-sign him to, what was it, $1.25 million for 2 years, that's not a nothing commitment. Like, that's a pretty decent chunk of change for a guy that I just look at it and it's like, is this the best option?
I would say yes. And yeah. I can't think of another goalie that you can sign right now for that or less that's better than him. I just don't think that exists.
I mean, there's always a goalie carousel, though, in the offseason. Like, there's always, like, random free agent signings and stuff like that, you hear somebody go to the Calgary Flames for, 1 year, 800,000, 900, something like that. I don't know. Like, it's just a big commitment. And I know, like, the Lightning don't really have anybody in the pipeline right now. Like, Brandon Halverson in Syracuse was never going to be a guy that, jumps in and competes for an NHL spot someday. It's just, I don't know, like 2 years and that much money seems like I mean, for a backup goalie, like a decent commitment. I mean, it's
to each his own. I don't think it's terrible. I really don't. I don't think it's fantastic. Like you said, I'm sure you could sign someone to $875 a year, but like, is that guy going to win half his games when he only plays 20 games? I mean, maybe. Like, are you really going to get? I don't know. I think that guy wins 5 of the 18 games that JoJo just won. That's what I think. And I think he snuck in a few extras. He's still kind of a young guy, and he's watching the best goalie probably in the last 10 years. So, he's probably learning a little, right? Hopefully, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I agree with everything you said about backup goaltender. I agree that he probably did the job as capable. I'm just looking and I'm saying, like, over the last 2 years, what he's given the Lightning, is there somebody that can do a little bit better for cheaper? And that's kind of my point.
I'd love to hear some comments about this. I want to hear some name drops. That's what I want to see.
Let's hear it. If you're listening on YouTube, drop a comment in the comment section. Also, check us out on Twitter at Locked On Lightning. Let us know if you think there's a better option out there. Speaking of heated debates, here's another one coming up. Who would win a 7-game series between the 2004 Lightning, the very first Cup winner in team history, or the 2020-2021 Dynasty team? We'll talk about that coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th, write it down, folks. That is officially FanDuel Futures Day. It's a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, here it is, folks. It's your moment. Take a flyer on the MVP race. I'm going Jordan Love, Greg. Do you have a pick for MVP?
Ooh, you want me to throw a spicy one at you?
Throw a spicy one.
I'm going with Joe Burrow.
Hey, people in my backyard in Cincinnati would love that pick. Yeah. You can also, on FanDuel Futures Day, crown your Super Bowl champion in August. I'm going the Buffalo Bills, finally. Greg, who do you got?
I'm going with the Bengals.
I know. Big
no, I'm not. And that's you know what's got me hyped right now? I think it's the show quarterback.
There we go. Yeah. We need to do a football episode sometime.
Yeah, we should.
Also on FanDuel Futures Day, parlay your division winner dark horses. So, hey, if you think the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to go out there and win the NFC South this year, here's your chance to win some money on that bold pick. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bet right now, because Futures Day is one day only, August 26th. Mark that down. FanDuel, play your game. We're back on Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And Greg, this is a fun debate that's also popped up on social media over the past couple of years. The 2004 Tampa Bay Lightning versus the 2020-2021 Tampa Bay Lightning, the two back-to-back Dynasty Cup winners. Who would win a 7-game series between those two teams? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I think the 2020-2021 teams absolutely win that. I don't even think it's debatable.
Okay, well, I'll pick the other side.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because this is a debate. First off, I'm going to let you dive in, because on paper, yes, like that 2020-2021 team, absolutely loaded. Do you think skill wins out in this matchup?
I think everything wins in this. Like, Vasi is the best goalie, probably. Again, like I said, in the last decade, maybe 15 years. So he wins there. Defense and physicality, the modern era wins because think about you got guys like Maroon and Perry, right? Well, no, Perry wasn't there yet, but Maroon and like you had Killorn and those physical guys, like those guys were bullying people. That's like a big reason they won those two cups, right?
Mhm.
And then now you have Stamkos who was there, right? But like still here with Cooch, Point. I mean, the offense is just unreal right now. I just don't think I would say the Lightning have one of the best offenses in the entire NHL currently. So,
Yeah.
and they had pretty much not exactly the same, but mostly the same forwards at the time. So, yeah, I'm going with the modern era over 2004 every time.
I mean, on paper, yeah, sure. I'm with you there. I hear because I want a good debate on the show. I'll go the devil's advocate route, and I will say in the year that let's like in the era in which there's a very much kind of a grinded out, like this was the last year before the lockout, so it was kind of the last year of quote unquote like trap hockey. I think one of the reasons this the Lightning did so well is because they were a smart team that figured out how to add scoring while also sort of playing that just shut down stalwart defense. And look, there's a lot of high end players on this current dynasty team, but don't count out what Martin St. Louis did.
True.
His that year. Brad Richards, I think maybe just because of the way he exited, is never talked about enough for being maybe one of the all-time great Lightning centers. Your second line had Vinny Lecavalier, Freddie Modine on it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think Corey Stillman was on that line. Was it Corey Stillman or Fedotenko that was on that second
Oof,
line?
I do not remember.
Yeah, but either way, you had these high end top two. But I think the thing that stood out to them too is they also played really good defense. Brad Richards, really solid two-way player. And then Vinny Lecavalier was also, for his day, I think a little underrated on the defensive side of the puck as well. So, you have, I think, a top two that if you're looking on paper, you say like in recency bias and everything like that, you'd be like, oh, like the dynasty team, of course, is going to blow this away. Look how much generational talent is there. But I think in a 7-game series, not necessarily over the course of a whole season, but a 7-game series, 2004 had players that could match up.
Yeah.
You're nodding because I think you want to agree.
No, I'm nodding because I think Kucherov dances through that team, no matter how great they were. I just look. Those guys are the reason I even became a Bolts fan, right? Like Le Cavalier, San Louis, those guys, man. But Cooch is just different, and I don't care what year it is, but you match Cooch against anyone on that entire roster, and he comes out on top every time.
Yeah, you're not riding with Pavel Kubina there.
No.
No.
And look, I mean, like I said, Vasilevskiy is a huge factor in a 7-game series. I mean, if he's fresh, he's only playing those 7 games. Dude is probably going to be on fire. He only needs to win 4 in a row, right?
He only needs to win 4 in a row, but let me throw out the Bulin Wall stats. Nikolai Hobby-Bulin during the 2004 playoff run, 16 and 7, of course, obviously. 933 save percentage, 171 goals against, and 5 shutouts. I think we sort of forget about it because of Vasilevskiy. I think easily is the all-time best goalie in the NHL or in the Tampa Bay Lightning's history.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people sleep on what Nikolai Hobby-Bulin did during that run. I think one of the greatest stretches of any Lightning's player ever.
Yeah, no, I mean, fantastic, right? I mean, they won, so great work on his part. But I don't know. I can't count against the Hall of Famer.
Let's see. It is interesting. Let's compare and contrast the two a little bit, because I think what makes maybe this current Lightning dynasty so different, it was like the end of a build. It starts all the way back from when this current, 2004 was dismantled a little bit. And, you put in, that's how you get Steven Stamkos, and that's how you get Victor Hedman, and some of the pieces start coming together, and you make the cup in 2016, 2015, 2015. You make the cup, then you take a step back, you kind of reshuffle the core, and finally you find the combination that gets you the cup. 2004 just kind of seemed like the Lightning popped up out of nowhere, really, right?
Yeah.
Like 2002, they were one of the worst teams in the NHL. You make the playoffs for the first time in a very long time in 2003, and then 2004, you're second best team in the NHL, and all of a sudden competing for a Stanley Cup. And
Yeah.
I think it was maybe like that part's maybe why people maybe automatically be like, oh, of course, like 2020, 2021 is like the better team. And I agree with you because I think there's a lot more intent in building it. I think what 2004, the magic that captured is they managed to get all these random pieces they had going at the right time.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of the magic of the John Tortorella team there was he took this collection of really good players and just kind of found a way to make them a dangerous team. And I think there's something to be said for that when you have coaching that can kind of look at a collection of like, it's a mismatched roster. Like, let's throw that out there right there. Kind of taking those players and just saying like, okay, how do we put all of these people together in the best possible way? How can we maximize this lineup? I think 2004 did that extremely well.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think Tortorella is like one of the best coaches ever, right? Like he is such like a unique style about him, if you will. It's very polarizing. You either love him or you hate him, I think is the general consensus. But look, the guy can coach and he knows how to like get the most out of his guys. And I think we've seen that kind of fade away from Coop in recent years, actually, in my opinion. And I don't know if that's just due to being in the same place for a long time. And maybe he's less, obviously passionate. Like obviously Tortorella is so blatantly emotional when he like makes decisions in press conferences and all those areas. You just like he's wearing what he's thinking all the time. And I think Coop plays a little bit of a smarter political game, but other than that, I think Tortorella, as far as like driving you as a player, his like that effect he has is just, it's one of the best I think ever in the history of the league.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And whatever your answer is here, and I tried to argue for 2004, but you and I probably have the same answer as to this question. I think both eras definitely had some magic to it. It's like when Armando Velez and I from, Locked On Panthers had this discussion about the Lightning dynasty versus Panthers dynasty. There's impressive things about both. And even though there's, some clear differences between the two, I think we can all appreciate just how well both teams, have managed to find a way to be so good. And hey, that 2004 team, that made a lot of people around the, St. Pete, Tampa area, huge hockey fans. And that kind of turned this into a hockey city. And
absolutely
big kudos to that.
Yeah. Turned it into a big sports city. I mean, even the Bucks are booming. Brady came down here, right? And now Tampa is a sports city. It's awesome.
Yeah, I had the Super Bowl there. I mean, you had the Rays in the World Series randomly a few years later. Tampa Bay, I think, was born in that original era.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Let us know what you think. If you think that the 2004 Tampa Bay Lightning could beat the 2020-2021 version in a 7-game series, we would love to hear from you. Let us know on YouTube who you think would win. We've got more show coming up later this week. We're going to continue our player preview series. We're going to start looking ahead more until next year. And we got some more crossover editions with some of the other teams, big storylines to follow around the league this year. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked on Lightning podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Back Friday with an all-new episode. We'll see you then.